Sup? My name's Christian. This is Polo. He's not really talkative right now, apparently. Well, he was gonna help me present this, but, yeah, looks like that's not gonna happen. Sorry, Polo. Alright, so, environmental value systems. Fun stuff. Now let's start this off with my personal environmental value system, which I would mostly relate to a self-reliant soft ecologist. Now for those confused about what a self-reliant soft ecologist is, here's a little picture here. Alright, so imagine that green over here is ecocentrism, which mostly relies on really green policy, sustainability, general tree hugging fun. Over here in the red would be technocentrism. I mean, really, this should be flipped over. And technocentrism is mostly reliant on the ability that, well, mostly relies on how technology is going to solve all the world's problems, and, yeah, that we don't really have to worry about anything. Then down here in blue, we've got anthropocentrism, which mostly focuses on societies, how it's kind of like a middle ground between ecocentrism and technocentrism. And so a self-reliant soft ecologist on this graph would mostly be right around there. Yeah, right there. Right by the anthropocentrism kind of area, but kind of relying on ecocentrism. I also have a few environmental management tendencies because, I mean, with the way society has progressed today, we use fossil fuels. It's going to be really hard to switch away from that at this point, and it's going to take a while to get sustainable practices. However, self-reliant soft ecologists I mostly agree with because, well, let's see here. Oh yeah, that's the point for inputs. Awesome. So my first input here would have to be I lived in California for a lot of my life. And living in California, they teach you when you're very little to not waste water and try and conserve water and stuff. Even though I take it for granted sometimes, I do know that it's actually kind of deep-rooted to the point where I don't even recognize it anymore. Just really simple stuff like don't leave the faucet on when you're brushing your teeth, take really short showers, stuff like that. And also in California you kind of feel the effects of the environment more than people think, like all the wildfires that happen over summers and droughts and such. They actually have kept me from going to school for some days, and yeah, when it gets to that point you really notice what's going on around you. And as for my second input, that would be IB Environmental Systems and Societies. However, I'm also going to combine that with IB Geography, and I guess the link there between the classes is the and societies part of environmental systems, because both classes have had units on environmental sustainability, and with those units, there was a really interesting concept that came into mind that I actually hadn't really thought of before, which is a lot of cities may actually be way too big for the areas that they're in, hence why they have to import food and other resources from other areas to support themselves when they can't do it. And I don't know, I just never really thought of that kind of concept before. I mean, case in point, in IB Geography there was a case study that I had to do on Los Angeles, well, had to study up on for Los Angeles, and that's really not an area meant for so many people, to the point where, yeah, if there's a drought, they're going to be pretty much screwed. Because they simply do not have enough water in that area to support the people there. And as for my third input, gonna sound kind of cheesy here, parents. I mean, no matter what you do, your parents are going to affect some aspect of your life, if not most. So yeah, when I was growing up, my parents tended to try to teach me to be more environmentally sustainable, I guess. Tried to make me think more about volunteering, cleaning up the local area. Like, for example, one thing that I had to do a lot when I was in middle school and elementary school was I had to work on cleaning up the local Bay Area where I lived in California. And how that fits into my soft ecologist kind of view is that a lot of it involved the local community and making sure that everybody was participating and ensuring that they clean up their local environment. So yeah, it was actually more fun than you would think. Lots of weird stuff there. I even found a lunch tray once. Anyway, next segment, personal environmental philosophy on energy resource use. That is a mouthful. Alright, so we need to put more focus on the gradual shift from fossil fuels over to alternative fuels like wind and solar energy. I really don't think that we need to focus on hydroelectric power because really I feel like that harms the environment more than it actually helps it. One really good example of that would be the Three Gorges Dam in China. Yeah, I kinda like the river dolphin. No more river dolphin because of that. At least there. So yeah, fossil fuels are a limited resource and they are going to run out someday, despite what other people might tell themselves. Don't know why they wouldn't really acknowledge that, but alright. And also, fossil fuels release more emissions than wind and solar energy would, and that accelerates the greenhouse effect, causes global climate change, all the fun stuff of raising sea levels, killing animals, everything that everybody loves. Sorry, Polo. Let's see. Not to mention that the actual process of getting those fuels damages the environment in itself. I mean, really, there's actually mining for the coal, there's drilling for the oil, and after the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, everybody knows how fun that is. Killing local wildlife. What a great society we live in today. Anyway, I do see that there are some there are things that I can't really ignore about fossil fuels. I mean, we don't really have the infrastructure right now to focus on alternative energy. We don't have nearly as many power plants for it as we do for fossil fuels. Not to mention that we lose a lot of jobs so far if we just like immediately try to shift from that field over to alternative energy. And also, the economy would be kind of screwed because, hey, oil, it's worth stuff. As much as we don't want to admit it sometimes. Anyway, off of that depressing subject, let's go on to municipal solid waste. So, that's fun. Anyway, so I'm going to compare my views with the views of a cornucopian. So there are some similarities between us. We don't encourage the amount of waste that we have, actively at least. I mean, really, who wants to walk around getting trash all day? And also, recycling. That's a good thing. Recycling. Have fun with that. However, there are some differences between myself and a cornucopian that I really feel like should be pointed out here. So one, incinerators. Cornucopians, love your incinerators. I love them so much. Like, you want an incinerator for your birthday. That's how badly you want one. And they kind of want one because, I mean, there's less landfills as a result. The trash is gone. However, I don't like them because they cause more emissions, and like I mentioned earlier, emissions, greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect leads to global climate change. Dead Polo. Poor Polo. I bet he misses his family. Anyway, so also I tend to prefer, like, as I mentioned with the input on IB geography and IB environmental systems, a lower population, instead of having way too many people in one area, would also decrease the inputs and outputs of the area. So that would eventually get to the point where sustainability wouldn't make an incinerator necessary. Whereas with cornucopians, since they're over on technocentrism central over there. They like to think that technology can solve their problems, so they don't really have to care about inputs and outputs at that point. Next, Superfund site. That's super fund, not super fun. Kind of the opposite of fun when you actually look at the definition here, which is clean up sites contaminated with hazardous substances as well as broadly defined pollutants and contaminants. Yeah, happy stuff today. Let's see. So the Superfund site that I'm going to use is actually Camp Pendleton, which is a Marine Corps base out in California. Yeah, you can tell what I did most of my research area in. So the main thing with Camp Pendleton is that the groundwater in the soil is very polluted, and that's because of the VOCs that are in use there, or the volatile organic compounds. Also due to oils, fuels, pesticides, metals, and herbicides. But the way that it also affects the society there is that the Marines have to drink that groundwater. It's within drinking water standards, but if they slack off even slightly on that, I wouldn't want to be them in the morning after they had to drink that water. Yeah, that's gonna hurt. So, a topic that I chose to discuss here, water conservation. And yes, we're California. Fun. Anyway, so, water conservation. The area that I'm specifically going to choose, try and guess, is the southwestern United States, which they need to conserve more water and allow more water to flow through the river systems again, and basically just not hog all the water and let some of nature have it back. I mean, they kind of need it. Nature is how nature wants to be in the first place. Anyway, so the reason why people need to take a stance on this, at least how I see it, is that water scarcity hasn't been an entirely huge problem yet. I mean, we watched the video Blue and Gold in class, and that shows how it's a growing issue. However, it hasn't really been majorly covered in the media yet. But this is an issue that's up and coming right now, and if we don't find some kind of solution to this, that's gonna suck down there. But mainly, I feel like people should focus on it because if we do find a solution to it, it could be used as a kind of model for other areas to follow. And I feel like that would actually be a really positive effect globally, because this is a global issue, and if we find some kind of solution that satisfies everybody, or at least most of the people there, then sweet. One step closer to global peace, I guess. No water wars. Anyway, that is it for that. Yeesh, Polo's got some dust on me. Thanks a lot, Polo. Can't believe I was worried about you. Environmental systems have fun. Yeah.